there, everyone. It's Dr. Christine Anderson, or Dr. Chris to my patients and some of my friends even. And I've got a new friend with me that I want to introduce you to. This is Greg, also known as the Hydrogen Man or H-Man for short. And for those of you who don't know anything about hydrogen, hydrogen water, hydrogen gas, what does it all mean? He's got lots of great information, and it is really a powerful tool. Hydrogen is an amazing tool to add to your wellness toolbox. And the great thing is that it doesn't really involve anything weird or special or extra. You're just drinking water, and we are supposed to do that anyway, but it really is important to drink the type of water that's going to be supportive of your system, not just any old water, not just tap water, especially if you live in a city. Bottled water, that's got its own problems. There's a lot of filtration systems. You definitely do want to have water that's been cleared of so many toxins. I've talked about this before, but did you know about structured water? What the heck is that? Water's water, right? No. So what happens is that water will tend to clump together. And when it does that, it can't get into our cells. So there's something that we want to do to structure water. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. But one of the best ways is using hydrogen gas, because not only do you structure it, but that hydrogen gas adds its own health benefits. So that's just a little taste of what I want to say. And if you hang on, especially if you're listening to this within a week or two of me posting this, there is a Black Friday special. It's such a great special, and I will talk about that at the end and how you can get $500 off your own personal hydrogen water machine. It's a special one because, of course, all hydrogen machines are not created equally, and this gets to be the problem. I do a lot of research. Sometimes it takes me years before I jump into purchasing something. Sometimes I'll purchase something, see it doesn't work, and then I have to go from the beginning from there. But when I come to you with a product, it's because I really have found it to be beneficial for myself, my family, and that's why I share it with you. So I'm going to just jump in and have Greg, the Hydrogen Man, introduce himself, talk a little bit why he is called the Hydrogen Man, and how he got into this, and he'll delve into some of the things that he found beneficial for the health aspects. And also he has done a ton of research himself. So he has got a wealth of knowledge in how he uses this for himself and also helping other people. Take it away, Greg.
Well, I mean, the first thing is, I mean, it's all very complicated, but to make it really, really simple, obviously the health benefits of hydrogen are, I say they're immense. For a lot of people who don't know, hydrogen, I mean, I myself was really sick. That's how I ultimately started on the hydrogen journey and became really an expert in hydrogen. And I don't tend to listen to a lot of the information out there because there's a lot of people who claim to be experts and claim to be giving you the correct information, and it gets really frustrating. This goes for a lot of things in the health realm. So what I actually went to go look at is the actual medical data. I went to the source, which is here in Japan, looking at all the information because they are the hydrogen mecca. They're the ones who discovered it. It's actually been used. It is currently being used medically by doctors at major universities. So it is the real deal. And it's not like they did like 20 studies or 50 studies. I believe right now there's like over 2,000 studies. There's a large amount of studies. This is why it was ultimately approved. And they really saw that there really is a difference. To give some examples of things that I have personally seen, I should say I don't give any medical advice. I don't make any medical claims, the world that we live in. But what I'll say is things that I personally have seen or experienced, literally either improve or even go away, which have literally shocked me. This is why I became so obsessed with hydrogen, because it's such a beautiful thing. But I've seen things even with my own family, like my father, but I've seen things like high blood pressure go away, high cholesterol issues go away. heart conditions go away, diabetes go away. I've seen huge improvements and huge changes in people with like dementia, Alzheimer's, even macular degeneration, glaucoma. That was another one my father had, arthritis. You know, I had a heart condition that supposedly needed open heart surgery. I was scared to death. I was told it was going to end my life. And that condition actually went away after using the correctly made hydrogen. I say correctly because, of course, we always try to look for the cheapest thing. And when I was first getting into hydrogen, I was trying to find the absolute cheapest products that I could find. Like I could show you an example here of some that now I never use, but like these little bottles that supposedly make hydrogen. And there's a lot of problems with them, in my opinion. I had to not only learn about hydrogen and the medical aspects of it, but then I started having to learn about engineering, the science of metals, and even the science of membranes, and all the different ways to make hydrogen, because you can make it in multiple ways. But I didn't realize the potential dangers due to potential impurities. So if people ever want to know at least what I do, never get something that has plated or coated metal. Never use something that's stainless steel or uses something like lye or sodium hydroxide to make hydrogen. It's kind of nuts, but people actually do it. And so you want a very pure form of hydrogen. I mean, being in the medical field, people who really work in the field understand, like, for example, what medical grade means. Like medical grade gases has to do with the purity of the gas. And molecular hydrogen ultimately is a gas. That's what we're talking about. And the body does produce hydrogen too. And even nature does this. This is how a lot of it was actually originally discovered in a place called Lourdes, France. So that's another thing that I did when I was really sick. I mean, I had autoimmune issues. I had arthritic pain all over the place. My bones were actually degenerating at a very fast pace, fast rate. My immune system was garbage. I'd get sick really, really easily. I literally couldn't walk. I was in so much pain. It was hell. I was really going through hell. And so I was really trying to find out what can transform my health. And I know that in the medical field a lot, I know they just want to throw pills to stop symptoms and really not understanding the underlying causes. And then you start looking at, the potential side effects. A lot of people don't know, for example, like the third leading cause of disease appears to be pharmaceutical drugs. So it's kind of crazy. We got cancer, heart disease, and then literally medicine seems to be one of the leading causes of death.
Well, yeah, it's the number third killer of people is not just drugs, just medical intervention, just medicine, going in the hospital, have
Right.
your doctor do whatever. I know it's crazy. So, yeah, so as you were saying, we actually produce hydrogen. Here's the problem is that most people don't understand how their body functions, I find. So,
Right.
really, once you start delving into that, you kind of get why something like hydrogen, which a water molecule is made out of two hydrogens and an oxygen, because oxygen has two little, I call them Mickey Mouse ears on there. So it's like two handles and it can grab onto two hydrogen atoms. And this is all organic chemistry. If you've never had that, you don't really understand. And then those bonds can break, but they're always searching around for a partner to hold hands with. And so this is where we get into things like free radicals and oxidative stress and damage in the body. And so it makes sense that hydrogen can come in. And from what I understand of reading myself, is that it is one of the biggest antioxidants. So antioxidants are the things that we consume. And people know about blueberries now. They have a high antioxidant value. Well, that's because they can grab those free radicals that aren't partnered and kind of join hands with them so they stop doing so much damage. Well, hydrogen atoms can break apart and hold hands, break apart and grab onto those free radicals and actually stop them from creating damage and then be recycled. But you have to have that hydrogen around, and probably like everything else, the amount of hydrogen we produce is going to decrease as we get older. Go
Yeah,
figure.
that's exactly what happens. Yeah, and obviously hydrogen's so tiny. For people who want to look up a chart, you can actually look up the size of hydrogen versus like glutathione, vitamin C, vitamin E, all these other antioxidants. And it's just different. Hydrogen is not a normal antioxidant. It's so tiny, it can literally go to the core of the mitochondria. It can go to any part of the human body, literally from your toes to your brain, and relieve it appears to neutralize, like you were saying, oxidative stress, whether it's ROS, reactive oxygen species, or other types of free radicals. And just the effect that it has on the human body is literally mind blowing. I mean, it's going to change the world of medicine, in my opinion, in the very near future. It already is in Japan.
Maybe, maybe not. We'll see. I mean, that's the problem is when you have a medical industry that has a hold. The US and New Zealand are the only two countries that can advertise pharmaceutical drugs. No other country can do that. So, although we would like it to go there, I'm okay with it not necessarily going into mainstream medicine, just as long as people have access to this information and not be denied it because of the medical system. Because I think people are searching more and more for these answers themselves and not relying on their medical doctor to sanction whatever. Um,
Yeah.
Shoot, a thing popped into my head and then it went out of my head. So maybe talk a little. Oh, I know for me, I don't have any major issues, but I do notice when I am hydrated properly using hydrogen water that my energy level goes through the roof. Like you don't need a cup of coffee in the afternoon. Have a couple of maybe half a liter of hydrogen water. And it's just like, wow, that. And if I do an infrared session, it's like, okay, I am ready to go. Like I feel relaxed, rejuvenated, but not caffeinated. It's so, so amazing.
It
So,
actually, I've actually noticed that most therapies or things for your health are actually kind of like an oxidant or oxidative in general, like red light therapy. But obviously, it can be good for you. Even oxygen is oxidizing.
yeah.
And I've discovered hydrogen is kind of something really unique because I've been working with multiple clinics and the things that they've seen, and I have pictures, testimonials. I'm going to be putting a lot of that on my YouTube channel. All of it's free. It's so nuts because when you combine hydrogen with things like red light therapy or, oxygen chambers, which, oxygen is something you really don't want to do it all the time, but there's a rhythm and particular protocols on how to do it. But hydrogen actually appears to enhance the results. And it's really kind of mind-boggling the things that we're currently seeing. So that's something that's really, really new. And it sounds like you're doing it too with your
Oh, yeah.
therapy.
Layering therapies and yeah, the whole thing with the hyperbaric oxygen chamber, just a side note, is I actually was going to get one, but then I was looking into it and decided that the exercise with oxygen therapy with the varying altitudes
Yeah.
um, would have way more effect because of the resiliency, your body having to adapt to the situation. But we're going to digress there, and I don't want this video to be too long. Um, so tell us then what uh you talked about some things you look for in a machine. Now, I personally, I'm going to tell you, I call it Holy Hydrogen.
Mhm.
Um, that's the company. Hydrofix, I think, is the official name. And there's a couple of reasons why it attracted my attention, not only all the data and the research being done, but a lot of these hydrogen water machines that I saw out there, some of them were big and clunky, some of them had a lot of maintenance. This is super cute. It really is. It's small, it's portable. You can carry it around, and it does have additional cannula for inhaling hydrogen gas, which has its own benefits as well. And when you do that, it's usually at least a 30-minute session. So you want to have it handy near you so you don't have to be like standing at the kitchen counter and you don't want to have to lug around like 50 pounds of equipment. Um, and then the other thing I bought is you can have hydrogen water to go. So they've got these really nifty bags. This one's actually full because I bought it to my office today
Mhm.
to share. Um, But you'll find hydrogen water in like little packets. It's expensive. Well, you can have, your own hydrogen water on the go that you can carry with you because you want to have certain containers because the hydrogen gas will evaporate and lose its efficacy within, I think it's 30 minutes or so, an hour. I mean, it's pretty quick. You don't want it sitting around all day. But
The,
I love too with the Holy Hydrogen, after it hydrogenates the water, it's sort of got a little it kind of keeps it going. You'll see a little blast of hydrogen, so it kind of keeps the bubbles going if you're not going to drink it all right away, but then you don't have to wait another 30 minutes. Anyway, I'm sorry, Greg,
no,
please.
no, no, no. It goes into standby mode, and
Yes.
ultimately, there's a lot of unique things about that Japanese machine. For me, it's sad in the world of hydrogen. I actually wish that there was a ton of good stuff out there. And the more I research and the more that I've learned, and I've been doing this for like a decade, the more I've learned that it's almost like the Chinese are trying to get rid of us with hydrogen. I'm not kidding you. I mean, the stuff that
Mm,
it's really, I don't understand why they're making hydrogen machines this way, and whether it's hydrogen pills, I don't recommend them. I don't use them. The
yeah.
hydrogen and anything really from China, I haven't seen any good things from China in regards to hydrogen.
Hmm.
The best machine, and I literally just went off of data, is the Holy Hydrogen machine. It's called the LOURDES Hydrofix. And that one's from Japan. It's actually the number one machine in Japan. And they use a lot of proprietary technology that literally nobody else uses. And I could go into all the details about the machine because I've learned about all the different machines, but it'd be very boring. But I can just tell you that they do a lot of things that nobody else does. They're like literally one-offs. Like, for example, they have a dual chamber so that you don't actually electrolyze the water you're going to be drinking. So you're not running electrical current through the water. And the reason that's important is because if there's anything in the water that some type of impurity or something, the reaction with electricity and those impurities can create things that are potentially harmful. And then if you see any machine that only wants you to use distilled water only, you already know it's not a good machine because you want a machine that can utilize any type of water and not make it dangerous, in my opinion. And that's literally what the Hydrofix does. But it does so much more than that. It's the only machine in the world where they literally lab test and certify every single machine they make, which is insane. Nobody does that. It's way too expensive. It's way too time consuming, but it's the right way to do it because they want to make sure that each machine is making the proper amount of hydrogen to actually get results. I've seen like these little bottles test all over the place, like proper testing. I've seen these where the hydrogen is all over the place. I've seen them. They also break really easily. That's another thing I've learned a lot about hydrogen is that the machines break really easily. So the Japanese designed that machine in such a way, it's like literally the Toyota of hydrogen machines, extremely reliable, really, really well built. And they focus on the important parts. The metal technology, they don't use metal that's coated or plated or cheap stainless steel. They do it correctly. They also have a special computer because of the way that it regulates electric current, which nobody again does that either. There's just things that people don't understand really about hydrogen. And one of the things that I always do on my channel is I will recommend any machine that I know is good. And I only recommend stuff that I typically use. And when the world of hydrogen, that's the only thing that I use. There's only like 3 good machines out there when it comes to hydrogen. There's like thousands of machines out there these days, but there's literally only like 3 that are any good, in my opinion. And so that's that. But also water is important because you're using water as a carrier for the hydrogen gas. And that's when also you get into water filtration. I literally have a lab test, third-party lab test here on different ways of filtering water. And so I've really researched that extremely deeply because I'm really, really into my clean water. And I think, and if people want to see the product that I use for cleaning water, it's on a website called mypurewater.com.
Okay.
I want to see that.
You
And then, of course, if people want discount codes, it's always the same code. It's Uprising144K. That's just the name of my YouTube channel.
know what? You know what I'll do is you'll text me this info and I'll put it in the notes in the description so people can look at it there. Because I did not bring anything to jot anything down. So I'll get that from H Man there and I'll put it in the description along with how you can get the Holy Hydrogen LOURDES Hydrofix, whatever you want to call it, amazing hydrogen, water, and gas generating machine. Um, because right now, especially, you get $500 off. Normally, you would get $100 with my code. So if it's past the Black Friday time, that's what you can still get. But an additional $400 off. This is a phenomenal price. This is like the time. I
You know
promise
what's
you, you will not regret it. It's just incredible.
you know what the ironic part about it is too? I was always trying to save money on hydrogen products, but I didn't know that there's different reliability. And this machine actually ends up being the cheapest out of everything I've ever seen in the long term. It ends up being the cheapest way of making hydrogen. And luckily, it's the correct way. I say correct way. I got the best result with that machine. And I used so many different ones. My heart condition never went away with any machine until literally I got the new Hydrofix. And that's when I realized I'm like, there's something different between these hydrogens. And then, of course, protocols. So you want to, consume certain amounts. I show all this stuff on a lot of my videos on YouTube again for free and really share this information. And I show like live blood analysis. They literally did live blood analysis on that machine, for a patient in the lab. And that was amazing. I've had doctors contact me saying that's impossible. And actually, a doctor who contacted me repeated the test in her own lab, and the results came back exactly the same. And she became a huge proponent of hydrogen. But it's just so amazing. And in any protocol or anything that you're doing for your health, it appears to literally enhance it. So supplements that you're taking, better nutrient absorption, faster recovery. If you're an athlete, if you're just somebody who maybe has foggy brain, that was one of the latest testimonials, people dealing with dementia and Alzheimer's. And I really want the world to learn more about that because even people who are kind of famous out there, like Vivek, who was involved. I don't know if you know Vivek, who was one of the guys who was running for president.
Ramaswamy, yeah.
Yeah, and he seems like a really cool guy. And he was involved in the pharmaceutical field in regards to certain medicines that he was talking about for dementia and Alzheimer's and how they're super expensive and they really don't tend to work very well. And the things that I've seen hydrogen do, I've even released videos about it because I've had family members contact me where they had gotten a machine for like their mother was one of them who already had dementia, didn't recognize her own kids and literally transformed and all of a sudden talking, recognizing her children again, remembering who she is. It was unbelievable because this exists out in the world right now. And honestly, not many people know about it. And so I could,
Yeah.
you know, bring it.
No, they don't. Or they're starting to see those little bottles floating around. And hey, I had one. I didn't realize until doing some more investigation why that wouldn't be a good idea. And it wasn't that cheap either. I mean, it was, I don't know, maybe 150 bucks. So it wasn't 99 cents. It wasn't at the 99-cent store.
And if people want to know the problem, like there's, again, these are my opinions based on my research, but one, they use plated metal.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who understands plated metal, if you have it in water and you're running electricity, what do you think is going to happen to it?
Right.
And even in
Yeah.
time, you've seen plated stuff just start coming
Right.
off. That's one thing. I literally talked to a woman whose husband's a jeweler just the other day, and she was wearing cheap earrings of lower quality metal, and she got metal toxicity. She's a doctor also, and she had her blood work checked, and she really watches over her health, and she was getting metal toxicity from her jewelry.
Yeah.
So to me, this is even crazier because you're running electricity through it. And then you also have a membrane here, which is also receiving this electrical current. And so you have to understand how electricity affects these type of parts. This is why they're not very reliable either.
Right.
So the reliability in hydrogen machines is a huge thing that I learned in time that can get very expensive. That's why you just get something good the first time and it'll last you and you don't have to worry about it.
Right. It's the quality thing. It's like how it used to be when you would buy a piece of equipment and it would last you decades. And then now, not so much. You're lucky. You look on Amazon, you're lucky if it's a month with some people. It's crazy.
Yeah, and some
Yeah, no, definitely it's a quality device that it's easy to use, streamlined. You press a button. I mean, it couldn't be made any easier. It really couldn't. And like I said, I've had experience with some other models, some other things. Um, and the price that it is, it's not cheap, but neither is healthcare. And if you are helping to support your health, being proactive, spending money now and keeping your health at a high level is going to save you so much money in the end rather than waiting till you have a health issue. More money is going to be thrown at it, more time, more energy. You're not going to feel great. The quality of your life will not be great. There's just some things to me that are priceless. It doesn't matter what it costs if it's going to be something that's actually going to be helpful, which is why I'm doing this. I don't want people to just throw their money, throw their dollars after things, searching. That's what I kind of feel like that's what I'm here for, is to sort of vet things out and then have people like you who are experts in this field, talking about why it's so important.
Yeah, I mean obviously hydrogen is amazing for your health, but the whole water thing and hydrogen thing can just get really confusing. And I can tell you simple things like hydrogen is pH neutral, hydrogen is odorless, colorless, tasteless. Like for example, hydrogen pills, they have color, they smell, they taste bad, and they acidify the water. They don't, in my,
No,
they're not.
no. I mean, a big thumbs down, two thumbs down for hydrogen pills. I did try them. There was, this very popular product there. I was like, okay, I'll try it.
You know, many
And number one, I felt nothing. I would also muscle test myself, and it was like, no. And I felt like it. It's like, no, this does not, never even finished the bottle, threw it away. And this is what I'm talking about. Why I'm not going to just jump on a bandwagon because it's popular and fashionable. I'm going to try it first and see what is my experience with it.
Another one is the Kangen machines. Have you heard of
Mhm.
the machines?
Yeah.
How they alkalinize the water, and
Yes.
longest time they told us alkaline water is the key. But what a lot of people never wanted to talk about was short-term research and data versus long-term data
Hmm.
in Japan. I mean, which is where I read all the latest information. They found out that in long-term research, it didn't look good, but
Hmm.
short it looked great. And the reason is they kept telling us it was alkaline water, but that wasn't actually the reason. It turned out that the machines were inadvertently by accident making a little bit of hydrogen. And it turns out it was a that was giving the benefit the whole time. And so
That's funny.
that changed a lot of things, but still those machines are so expensive. I think they're like $5,000 to $6,000. They don't offer hydrogen inhalation. You always have to use like the tap water to use them in their own filters, which I don't like. They don't really make hydrogen correctly. They don't make pH neutral, full saturation. They
Yeah.
directly utilize water. They just do it all wrong. But it all started with things like that in Japan, and it took
Right.
time to figure it out. And so you have to go off data. Yeah, I mean, I think you really have to go off the latest data.
I I agree, and I was never convinced of the Kangen water, even though people were talking about it, and I would read things, and I wasn't ready to plop down 5 grand to actually try it on a regular basis because I was like, I don't think like intuitively, I was like, I don't think so. I don't
Well,
think
you
so.
have really good instincts because a lot of people went for it, and I went for it too. And it didn't fix my problems. It didn't fix anybody's problems I knew. I even met a girl who was like a vendor for the whole Kangen thing, and she had multiple hormonal problems. Never got fixed with those Kangen machines. And then she met me. We talked about hydrogen. She ended up getting on the LOURDES Hydrofix. I'm not kidding you. It solved her problems in roughly 6 months. So she totally fixed her problems. And it was kind of remarkable. And she never looked back. And she's like, this is amazing. I mean, the difference was night and day. She even looked different because it does have like hydrogen has been shown to have an anti-aging effect. They did some interesting
Hmm.
in Japan. And basically, they showed that every year of using hydrogen correctly in the blood work was actually making the blood 5 years younger every year. And it does seem to have effects on like the collagen, obviously your brain, your eyes, your skin, but your organs too. I mean, there's another study where I literally saw it bring down the parasitic count in the liver. The liver is actually, it appears to actually be really good for the liver. I've worked with people with cirrhosis of the liver, and liver problems, even kidney stuff, which is supposed to be, again, You can't solve supposedly kidney stuff. One of my own brothers was about to get on dialysis. I put him on my protocol and he avoided dialysis. His kidneys made a huge recovery. And so I've witnessed it, and it's still hard to believe. And to be honest, I know that the machine even seems a little spendy. It's not crazy expensive. It's not $30,000 or
No,
anything,
it's not crazy, but it's not,
but it's not 20 bucks.
no, it's not 20 bucks. It's not even 200 bucks. It is a couple of thousand, but when you're looking at these devices that are high quality and it's something you're going to use on a regular basis, that's what I always say is look at your usage factor. If you're using it pretty much every single day for the next, I don't know, even say 10 years, and you break it down and you're like, oh, well, that's affordable. That's like if you look at it that way, it's a cup of coffee that you shouldn't be buying at Starbucks anyways per day, something like that.
Well, I also look at it almost like having your own natural spring of hydrogen in your home. Like some people fly literally to Lourdes, France,
Yeah.
thousands of dollars on planes and hotels and food and
Yeah.
everything. And you could literally have one of these in your home. It's unbelievable. I mean,
Yeah. That everybody can use. It's
yeah,
absolutely, I think it's indispensable. I would love, I mean, sometimes I'll use hydrogen peroxide in my bath, which hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. So you have two hydrogens to two oxygens, and that has its own benefits. I think very similar to hydrogen gas just because of the reactions in the body. Um,
I think
so that's a whole nother thing, but
I
I
think
would love to have a whole bath of just hydrogen water.
and it's a good question. I'm glad you actually brought the hydrogen peroxide up because, as you said, H2O2 is an additional oxygen, and hydrogen peroxide is more of an oxidant actually than an
Correct.
This is why it's good for like if you get a cut and you want to avoid an infection, you put it on there because it's good at killing things. It's good at killing bacteria and purifying that, which is very different than molecular hydrogen. The
Correct.
hydrogen we're talking about.
Absolutely. There definitely is a difference, but
But it's good stuff. I mean, in its own
it
way.
it is in its own way. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left here. What else are you yearning, burning, to tell the people about hydrogen that you think they should know? Like, this is an absolute must to have in your toolbox.
Well, there's so many things. I mean, it also actually has a really kind of a spiritual part to it too. I call it the ascension molecule because that's literally what it does. It ascends. Hydrogen ascends. And you look at the universe, it's mostly made of hydrogen. And when you look at something even like the pineal gland and how difficult it is to reach that part in the brain and how hydrogen can get there easily. And hydrogen, I mean, we're talking about the light of the world. The sun is made up of entirely hydrogen. Some people may
Mm.
argue, well, it's also made up of helium. Well, helium is a form of hydrogen. So hydrogen is just a very special molecule, and I've seen it affect the mind and the emotions just as much as your health. I think it's actually going to be in the future. We need we need apparently data, but I already feel pretty confident just from experience and things that I've seen. I think it's going to help people with depression in major ways and people with mood disorders because I've already seen how it's affected people hormonally in major ways. And the gut, we already have data for the gut. It is amazing for the gut. I've seen people with celiac disease, Crohn's disease, IBS, unbelievable stuff. Like it's just so hard to actually believe that it's true because I tried so much garbage throughout the years and spent so much money on things trying to get right that it was actually really, really frustrating. And to find out that it can be as simple as clean water, clean proper levels of hydrogen, and then just getting like your nutrients, overcoming nutritional deficiencies, and then of course some good dewormings. And that's kind of my protocols in simply
Yeah.
put, very simple method that is,
Yeah. Back to basics.
yeah, it
We
really,
all have to drink water. Now let's just make sure it's working for us in a healthy way instead of harming us in a toxic way because it can do that too.
oh yes.
Well, now you guys know why he is called the Hydrogen Man. All things hydrogen all the time. Greg, I appreciate you so much coming on and talking with us about this. Your passion certainly shines through, And I'm glad you found hydrogen, the proper hydrogen, and that you were able to come and share all your knowledge today.
Well, thanks for having me on. I hope that it's helpful to somebody out there and, either helps or saves somebody's life out there, much the way it changed my life and many people around me. So
Yeah.
I find it, share the information out there because there's a lot of people who have a lot of medical issues and they literally don't know that something this simple exists out there. And thank God, I just got to give him a shout out. Thank God to the guy who created this machine, a Japanese guy, just an absolute genius. And he got help from top Japanese companies, by the way, were involved in that machine. It was Toyota and G-Shock and Yamaha and all these really big time Japanese companies. It's just such a thing of beauty. It was something that really came from the heart. And I think it's really special. So I'm glad we got a chance to share it with everybody.
Well, great. I'm going to put all your info. We're going to put that other info you were talking about with the water filtration, because I want to look into that too. So people can find you and all your great information on YouTube. He's got a ton of videos, guys. You need to watch them all. If you have any questions about hydrogen, he is your man. All right, Greg, thank you so much. And everybody else out there, I will talk to you next time.